discussed about that Java and its framework technologies. All the open source technologies will mostly discussed on this. So today I am going to start with Spring Boot. So in the Spring Boot we'll cover step by step all these things. So we'll start from introduction and advantages and features, how to creating that projects in the using the Spring Boot, and we'll see the in detail about the project structure as well, and how to deal with the databases, how to use the JPA, and also how to call the Spring Boot API from the Angular applications, right? So all these things end to end will discussed in this channel. Okay, so if you have any doubts or if you need any clarification on the Spring Boot, also you can just comment on the comment box. I'll give clarification on this. Okay, so let's get started. So this video all about what is Spring Boot and why we are using Spring Boot and the overview of the Spring Boot. Also, it is having the features and what the advantages we'll get with the Spring Boot application. Okay, so this is the first slider. So this is all about overview of Spring Boot. Okay, so first of all, what is the Spring Boot? Okay, Spring Boot is a open source Java based framework. Basically, why we are using, right? So if you want to create any microservices based application, quickly production ready applications, then we can going with the Spring Boot. Okay, so that is the main thing why they are going with. In the Spring Boot, we can able to build Maven as well as a Gradle related applications. We can build on that. Okay. So Spring Boot is a microservices based framework and it makes a production ready application. It takes very less time. Okay. In a further video, we can see how can we build this Spring Boot application in production ready in quick manner. Okay. So and another things are there. So whenever doing the any configurations also, there is no much configurations in the Spring Boot level. So all this configuration will come from the Spring Boot side. So for those configuration, just we need to give our whatever the things we required in the form.xml side, we need to configure. Okay. Okay. So further moving to next screen here, if you see features of the Spring Boot. Okay. So here we'll discuss about the what the first one. So it allows to avoid heavy configuration of XML which is present into the Spring. So again, before Spring Boot, we have the Spring. In the Spring MVC people are using, right? So in that have the huge XML configurations, right? So in that, whatever you want, any kind of dependency injection, if you want to perform, or if you want to do any kind of configurations, everything we need to do in the XML configurations only. All these XMLs will having the heavy weight actually. At the time of processing also, it is consuming the huge time. Okay. So now in coming to that Spring Boot here. So here we don't have those kind of XML configuration related stuff here. So directly we can go with that auto configuration mechanism. So these auto configurations we have to define in the Spring level. So we are using like annotation Spring Boot application. So in that we are coming with that annotation auto configuration. Also we can whatever if you want to exclude configurations also we can define. Okay. So if you see here, there is a Hibernate also. If you are dealing with ORM related stuff in the Spring Boot like JPA Hibernate, so why you are basically going with JPA Hibernate instead of JDBC? So JDBC is required so many violated code we need to write here, and we need to handle all the exceptions there. That is the reason we are going to the Hibernate. So it will come the built-in. It is top of the JDBC is built on the framework. So it is an object relational mapping. Okay. So here all the exceptions are no, you no need to handle all the exceptions. Okay. So and also while coming to the Hibernate, so what we need to do in the Spring level, no need to do any kind of XML configuration in the Spring Boot. While coming to the Spring MVC, there again we need to create the separate XML for this one. So like hibernate-config.xml. So these things we need to write in the Spring MVC level or Spring level. Okay. So while coming to the Spring Boot, these configurations are not required. Just we need to create one entity class. I'll show you what kind of entity class I'm doing. I'll open my IntelliJ IDE. I'll show you that entity. Okay. So meanwhile, we'll go through this. Okay, so Hibernate along with the JPA, Java Persistence API and Hibernate. So anyone who can use at the time of dealing with the database. So, okay. So and also if you see another feature is it provides easy maintenance and creation of REST endpoints, right? So if you want to create any RESTful web services using the Spring Boot, compared to other things, it is very easy. it will come some annotation. Just we need to use annotation rest controller and request mapping. Along with that, there are another annotation like if you want to create that get related API annotation, get mapping annotation, post mapping, and put mapping, and delete mapping, patch mapping. There are so many annotations will be there. So we can talk in the further one by one. So why we are using, what is the use of those things, right? We can discuss further all these things. Okay. And also in the Spring Boot, it will come with embedded Tomcat server. So what is the embedded Tomcat server? Because whenever you are creating any application, any web application or any middle layer related applications, right? These applications should run into the server. So for that one, we need to use either application server or enterprise servers, right? So there is a multiple servers like Tomcat, one server, WebLogic is another server. So like that, number of servers are there. But while using the Spring Boot will come with embedded Tomcat server. So you no need to install any external servers to run your services. Okay, this one also will see at the time of implementing the Spring Boot application, you will get more idea. Okay. And another one is to, if you see the Tomcats in the Spring MVC level, we need to add and install this Tomcat server manually. But here it will come along with the Spring Boot itself. Okay. Coming to another features, see deployment part. Deployment is very easy, where a jar file can be easily deployed into the Tomcat server. So just okay, we can see that one. And another one is microservice based architecture. Yeah, this is the main thing in the Spring Boot level. Whenever people is choosing the Spring Boot to implement their application related logic or functionalities, this why they are using means it is supports the microservice based architecture. For example, you are developing one e-commerce application, right? So in the e-commerce, if you see the like Flipkart or any kind of Amazon or any kind of thing, so in the Flipkart is having the multiple modules, like one is for customer module and user login module, sign up module. While signing up to the application, it will ask some fields for the user information. We need to fill that once, right? It will store back in into somewhere into the database, and after that it will ask for the login. After that, it will while adding product into the our cart, then that is a product service implemented. So login service, product service, user service, customer service, and there is a relation with between the mapping to that price and product. So there are just so many number of services. For example, if you see in here any e-commerce project architecture. Okay, so if you see this structure of this e-commerce, for example, so see user interface. After the user interface, see here, so after the user interface is nothing but a UI what we are showing while launching the flipkart.com, right? So after that, it is having the multiple services it is having in build. If you see microservices, one, two, three, four, five services, right? This user interface can dealing with these services, also this, because also sometimes one service can communicate with another service. This is also there, right? So all these things they implemented as a microservices and communicating through that internal microservices. There is a multiple ways. All these things we can see once we start actual implementation on the Spring Boot. We can able to see all these things. Okay, okay, and let's go to that PPD. So, and another features what we get in the microservices means whenever our service is running into the production, right? So if the production is having some issues, that production issues, you can take that particular microservices and you can analyze the issue where the exactly that issue is happening. Okay. And also while doing the deployment also only we need to deploy that particular microservices only. So in this case, we no need to stop the entire system. Okay. So only that particular service only can do the changes. Okay, so that is the advantages we get while going with the microservices. Okay, coming to the next slide now, Spring Boot architecture. Okay, so how the Spring Boot will work, for example, this is the client, this is means UI application. So from the UI it will come to the controller to service, service to database, and sometime model to database. Okay, these are the, if you see here, two things are there. Okay, so I'll explain. For UI is nothing but people can build that UI using that Angular, React, or whatever they want, they can build that UI. Okay, from that UI, they will use the REST APIs to communicate with our Spring Boot architecture, right? So while doing that one, they will first using the APIs like Post API, Get API. You know, you are all aware of something how these APIs will work. So if not, I'll explain it clearly. Okay. So whenever hit that API from the client, it will hit to the controller first. So after the controller to service will go, service to repository to databases. Okay. So in the controller, but main business logic will be there in the service only. Whatever the data we are passing in the service data, if it is this service needs to communicate with database, then it will come to that database and do the operations again, send back to that controllers to the client. Okay. So all these card operations will be performed during the service layer with the help of the Spring Data JPA or Hibernate. Okay, so in this case also there is a dependency also involved here. Okay, so we can see once we start the actual implementation of the Spring Boot application, then you can see what is the dependency injection, how what is the JPA, how it will be work, and what is the get mapping, post mapping, all these things, how this HTTP request will work. Is there any other request apart from HTTP? All these things we'll see. Okay. Coming to another one, what is the advantages we get? Okay, so here already we discussed there is a no configuration. See, it is very minimal. No XML configurations will be there in the Spring Boot. Okay, and there is a where are not required. So whenever you are creating any service, it should be jar also. You can directly run the jar file from this anywhere. Okay, and mainly is form dependency management. Right, whenever you want to work with any kind of dependencies, like if you want to work with the Spring Data JPA, just we need to add those dependencies in the pom.exe XML file. Okay, I'll show you how to add these things. If you come in, this is the application. If you see the pom.xml file, if you want to deal with any kind of JPA, here we need to add the Spring Boot starter data.jpa, and you can go through here. So all these dependencies will be there related to that data JPA. See, again, it is the AOP and it is having the JDBC and Hibernate core data JPA. All these things. It is internally again it is having this. Okay, so if you see the microservices, no, MySQL related things it is. Okay. So if you see this is related to MySQL dependencies. Okay. MySQL jar file dependencies. All these things will be there in here. Okay. And coming to another feature, this is the main one, found dependency. Whatever you want to work. For example, tomorrow if you want to work with AWS, or if you want to work with MySQL, or if you want to work with Oracle, if you want to work with PostgreSQL. So everything you need to define the pom.xml file only. All these dependencies, once you are adding any dependency and jar files will come into here, I'll show you. So if you come into the external libraries, okay, click on this, all this related to the Maven jars only, here it will come. Okay, so in the external time card also, all everything will be there here, whatever the dependencies at the time of Spring will use, right? So everything will be there. Jupyter, this is using for JUnit. SLF4j using for logging mechanism. All these things, if you see, this is the JBoss server. So like this, you can see the logging mechanisms is embedded Tomcat also. Everything will come at the time of compile time only. Once we added the plugin, that's it. Automatically, it will mob and will pull everything, all the libraries into your project. Okay, no need to do everything. It is just like uh, a fraction of seconds only. It will do. So there is no XML configuration here. Only this form.xml file, only the one the file we use, remaining all are nothing. And there is a one file, this application dot properties, where we need to define the database related configuration and any other common used statements. We can use any constant if you want, or any other configurations you can use for the properties file. Okay, that's it. So and apart from that, so I also have the large community. So in the internet, you can get more help on this Spring Boot. Okay. So main purpose is using that you can build the REST APIs in like very quick format, and production ready applications we can build. Standalone application we can build in a minimal time frame. And the Spring Boot application can able to communicate from any other sources. Means any other framework. It is like if you are using .NET, so .NET framework can call to that its REST APIs. So if you want more in details, you can go to the spring.io, and here also we'll see. So all the modules, like if you are using Spring Boot, right? So come down. So if you see that Spring Batch is there, and GraphQL is there, there is one, and Spring Data, Spring Framework, everything is there. This is the Spring Boot also, right? So these are some samples also available in this website. Say current version is 3.2.x. It released in 23. Okay. So this is the current version. So like this you can see, and also there are another so many features in the Spring Boot. So just now we discussed about that less configuration, no XML configuration, and the micro service based architecture will follow, and apart from that it will do so many. So in the Spring framework, never we create any object using the new keyword. Here it will be using the auto void, so that is called a dependency injection. So it will provide like a setter injection, constructor injection. Just you can use annotation auto void, it will automatically give the, it will create the object and it will give us wherever you want, you can use that one. So most of the time we'll go over these things. So that much flexibility we'll get from the Spring Boot actually. So we're not concentrated on the repeated code. So we are only concentrated on the business logic, what we are going to implement on the Spring Boot. All the boiler code things and configuration things, everything will do from the Spring Boot for us. Okay. So there are so many features. So not only Spring Boot, if you see here, there are so many things are there in the Spring. So it will do so many things. Spring Security also, it will do Spring Cloud, Spring Data, Spring Cloud Data Flow. So many things are there in the Spring. Once you are familiar with any one of the module in the Spring, so automatically you can just go through those things. So you can keep on improving your knowledge. So it will give some interest on this actually. Yeah. So it will connect to any kind of databases, any kind of cloud also you can connect with the Spring Boot. Okay. So all these things we'll see that in upcoming videos. Okay. So we'll not cover all these things in one video. Yeah, this is all about a Spring Boot introduction and its advantages and features. Okay. So thanks for watching. So if this video is helpful for you, so please like, share, subscribe my channel.